Hi there, welcome back to the bonus speed paint for day 7 of Bluestar. This is a scene that Rachel drew back in January before we did the cool voiceovers telling the stories of the drawing. So I thought it might be fun to throw this one back out with its story reading behind it, just to add a bit of context to the rest of Bluestar's following days. Because tomorrow we're jumping ahead quite a few books. So the scene my sister Rachel's going to be drawing today is of when Bluestar is attacked by the rats, just outside Barley's barn and into the wild. I'll read this part to you now. It's on page 185 through 190 of Into the Wild. The cats padded along the edge of the ditch. Firepaw looked down the deep gully, steep-sided and filled with some nettles. Firepaw could smell prey scent. There was something familiar about the bitter odor, but it was one he hadn't smelled for a long time. An ear-splitting squeal made Firepaw whip around, and Ravenpaw was struggling and clawing at the earth. Something had a hold of his leg and was dragging him down into the ditch. "Rats!" spat Tigerclaw. "Barley has sent us into a trap!" Before they could react, all 5 cats were surrounded. Huge brown rats swarmed out of the ditch, squeaking shrilly. Firepaw could see their sharp front teeth glinting in the early dawn light. Suddenly, one leaped onto Firepaw's shoulder. Fiery pain shot through his shoulder as the rat sank its teeth into his flesh. Another grasped his leg between its powerful jaws. Firepaw flung himself down and writhed madly, trying to shake free. He knew that the rats were not as strong as he was. There were so many of them. Yowls, hisses, and spits told him that the others were also being attacked. Firepaw slashed fiercely with his claws, slicing out at a rat that held onto his leg. It let go, but another one gripped at his tail. Fast as lightning, powered by fear and rage, Firepaw fought and hackled at his attackers. Twisting his head around, he sank his teeth into the rat that had embedded itself onto his shoulders. He felt the bones of its neck crunch in his mouth, and its body went limp before it fell away onto the dirt track. Firepaw gasped in pain as yet another rat leaped onto his back and sank its teeth in. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw a flash of white fur. For a moment, he was confused, and then he felt the rat being dragged off of him. Firepaw spun around to see Barley flinging a rodent into the ditch. Without hesitating, Barley glanced around and sprinted over to Bluestar, where she was writhing in pain, covered in rats. In a flash, Barley had the spine of one between his teeth and was plucking it off her with practiced ease. He spat it onto the ground and grabbed another in his mouth as Bluestar thrashed beneath him. Firepaw rushed over to Greypaw, who was being attacked from both sides by 2 smaller rats. Firepaw lunged at the nearest one, giving it a bite that left it dead. Greypaw managed to turn and pin down the others with his claws. He grabbed it with his teeth and flung it down the ditch as hard as he could. It did not come back. "They're running away!" Tigerclaw yowled. Sure enough, the remaining rats were fleeing down into the safety of the ditch. Firepaw could hear the scrabbling of small paws disappearing into the nettles. The bites in his shoulder and hind legs stung sharply. He looked carefully at his fur, wet and matted with blood, its sharp tang mingling with the stench of the rats. Firepaw looked around for Ravenpaw. Greypaw was standing at the edge of the nettles, mewing encouragement as Ravenpaw pulled himself out of the ditch, muddy and stung. A young rat was still hanging onto his tail. Firepaw bounded over and finished it off quickly while Greypaw helped pull Ravenpaw over the top side of the ditch. Now Firepaw looked for Bluestar. He saw Barley first, standing at the top of the ditch, scanning the depths for more rats. Bluestar was lying on the path nearby. Alarmed, Firepaw dashed to his leader's side. The thick gray fur at the back of her neck was drenched with blood. "Bluestar?" he mewed. Bluestar did not reply. A furious yowl made Firepaw look up. Tigerclaw leaped on top of Barley and pinned him to the ground. "You sent us into a trap! I didn't know the rats were here!" spat Barley, his paws scrabbling in the dust as he struggled to stand. "Why did you send us this way?" hissed Tigerclaw. "The dogs!" "The dogs were tied up when we passed them earlier. The two-leg unties them at night. They guard his nest." Barley panted, wheezing under the weight of Tigerclaw's massive paws. "Tigerclaw, Bluestar's injured!" Firepaw burst out. Tigerclaw released Barley at once. Barley got up and shook the dust from his coat. The great warrior bounded over to Bluestar's side and sniffed at her wounds. "Is there anything we can do?" Firepaw asked. "She's in the hands of StarClan now," mewed Tigerclaw, solemnly stepping back. Firepaw opened his eyes wide with shock. Did Tigerclaw mean that Bluestar was dead? His fur prickled as he looked down at his leader. Is this what the spirits of Moonstone had warned her about? Greypaw and Ravenpaw had joined them and stood beside their leader, horror-struck. Barley hung back, craning his neck to see what was happening. Bluestar's eyes were open, but glazed, and her gray body lay motionless. She didn't even appear to be breathing. "Is she dead?" whispered Ravenpaw. "I don't know. We must wait and see," replied Tigerclaw. The 5 cats waited in silence as the sun began to climb into the sky. Firepaw found himself wordlessly begging StarClan to protect his leader and send her back to them. Then Bluestar stirred. The end of her tail twitched and she lifted her head. "Bluestar?" mewed Firepaw, his voice trembling. "It's all right," Bluestar rasped. "I'm still here. I have lost a life, but it wasn't my 9th. Joy flooded Firepaw. He looked at Tigerclaw, expecting to see relief on his face, but the Dark Warrior was expressionless. "Right," Tigerclaw meowed in a commanding tone. "Ravenpaw, fetch cobwebs for Bluestar's wounds. Greypaw, find Marigold or Horsetail." The 2 apprentices dashed away. "Barley, I think you should leave us now." Firepaw looked over to the loner who had fought so bravely to help him. He wanted to thank him, but under Tigerclaw's fierce gaze, he didn't dare. Instead of speaking, Firepaw gave Barley a tiny nod. Barley seemed to understand, for he nodded in return and left without another word. Bluestar was still lying on the dirt track. "Is everyone all right?" Tigerclaw nodded. Ravenpaw came charging back, his left forepaw wrapped in a thick wad of cobwebs. "Here," he mewed. Shall I put them on her wounds?" Firepaw asked Tigerclaw. "Yellowfang showed me how." "Very well," agreed Tigerclaw. He walked away and scanned the ditch again, his ears pricked for more rats. Firepaw peeled a clump of cobwebs from Ravenpaw's paw and began to press them firmly onto Bluestar's wounds. She winced under his touch. "If it had not been for Tigerclaw, those rats would have eaten me alive," she muttered, her voice tight with pain. "It wasn't Tigerclaw who saved you, it was Barley," Firepaw whispered as he took some more cobwebs from Ravenpaw. Greypaw returned with some horsetail. Firepaw chewed the leaves and spat the juice onto Bluestar's wounds. He knew it would help stop infection, but still he wished Spottedleaf were with him, with her knowledge of and confidence in healing. "We should rest here while Bluestar recovers," announced Tigerclaw, padding up. "No," Bluestar insisted. "We must return to camp." Narrowing her eyes in pain, she struggled to her paws. "Let's keep going." The ThunderClan leader limped along the edge of the field. Tigerclaw walked at her side, his face dark with unknowable thoughts. "It's been a long time since I've seen you lose a life, Bluestar. How many have you lost now?" Firepaw couldn't help feeling surprised at Tigerclaw's open curiosity. "That was my 5th, replied Bluestar quietly. Firepaw strained his ears, but Tigerclaw did not reply. He padded on, lost in thought. Crazy, right? Tigerclaw basically left Bluestar to the rats. And if Barley had not saved her, then the rats may have claimed all of her remaining lives. Tigerclaw's curiosity at the end of this scene, about how many remaining lives Bluestar has, is very suspicious. As we the readers know, she only has 2 lives remaining, but she lied to Tigerclaw so that he would not be able to use the information against her, by, say, killing her until she has no lives remaining. Well, we'll pick back up with this tomorrow. Until then, I'd love to hear in the comment section down below what you think about this scene. Bluestar honestly thought Tigerclaw had been the one that saved her. Do you think if she knew the truth, that Tigerclaw had basically left her to die, that she would have later that day appointed him as her deputy? Following the sudden death of Lionheart? I don't think so. But let me know what you think down below. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video. Make sure to go and check out the video over on the side of my last speed paint. And click that subscribe button so you can always be notified when I make my next video. Alright guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. I'll see you soon with the next speed paint. Bye-bye!